Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Kenobi!
I see him in my mind's eye. Kenobi. Kenobi!
Hello, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson, and you are back for the Council of Kenobi.
You're making this.
It's part three, bitches. It's part three, bitches. Gummies. I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here, especially for Obi-Wan.
It is always a pleasure to have you. I am also joined by Miles fucking Buttress. Sup, dude?
Happy to be back once again this week. Happy that, we're just geniuses and we know more about the show we're watching than I think the people that wrote it, honestly. It's crazy that we got the script ahead of time.
Mind. We exist in their head. Exclusively. On the screen below me that I can see and you cannot, we are also joined by KBZ Kyler Barnett. What's up, homie?
Not much. Yeah, I just thought in the intro you made us sound way too dignified. Like, this isn't going to be the longest 2 hours of debauchery, tomfoolery, and just full-out shenanigans.
I tried to go full NPR with it.
Yeah, I mean, you were very like distinguished, calm-sounding, and that's just not the general tone,
I tried to balance out the fact that I kicked off the show with the Darth Maul and Rebels monologue.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Okay, it makes more sense now.
Mind's eye. Kenobi.
We gotta be not too high, not too low.
People glom onto the scream, understandably so. The little Kenobi he lets out right before the scream, though, Kenobi, that shit's fucking hard. That shit's hard.
I'd seen all the clips on those like scenes and episodes of the later portions of the Clone Wars, but when I actually finally got to watch it after I'd been watching the entire show, oh man.
Whew, that shit was special, but nevertheless, that's the first nevertheless of this week. We are doing part 3, third episode of Disney Plus series Obi-Wan Kenobi. As always, we are going to be doing a full scene-by-scene episode breakdown. This one's original air date is today, June 1st, 2022, directed by Deborah Chow and written by Joby Harold, Hannah Friedman, Hossein Amini, and Stuart Beadle. So we're going to go in a circle, starting with Joe, on just how good or bad, I can't imagine it's bad, you feel about this episode.
I feel very, very good.
Mouthful of popsicle and all.
My bad.
Dude,
but
I did it on purpose.
Thank you. But no, this episode, it scratched an itch that we've been wanting for quite a while, is just see Vader go off. We got that. And I think this is just a little taste as well. This is only episode 3, which is wild. But I will say off rip that I think a lot of people are getting distracted with these, just epic moments and thinking that this episode is like God tier. But like, I don't know. As far as like what happened in the episode, the moments that are obviously badass are badass, but in between it was just kind of meh. Like,
I appreciate you coming in with the criticisms, because I didn't feel too far off. I obviously, when we get to the ratings later on, that enjoyment, that'll be just fine. That'll be doing quite well up there at a good old 5 out of 5 for your boy. But
pretty easy there.
On the critical side, I can't blame you there. I don't feel like we we pushed the story forward a whole lot beyond the obvious. Now they've seen each other. And it is a big moment for the Star Wars saga as a whole, like something we, like now that we've gotten this, it feels weird to think that A New Hope would have been their first reunion after Revenge of the Sith. Like, that'd be a strange interaction now, knowing that if that was the first one. But like, I think this is perfect. I think this was a good place to be. But yeah, I'm kind of with you there. Miles, how you feeling about this episode?
I mean, one word and one word alone. Cummies. Just cummies.
Indeed.
Fellow Americans.
Cummies. Yeah, I do agree with Joseph. There were definitely parts, especially earlier in the episode, where I was just like, all right, I get it. We gotta, we can't have, how long was this episode? Like,
47
minutes. We can't have 47 minutes of cummies. That's just,
it's too much.
We gotta have, it's too much.
You are one with the Force, Kenobi.
This isn't a finale.
But you are not cummies yet.
This isn't the finale. This isn't, any of that stuff. But I like, we got the, the build up to it, and then we got the just cummies moment.
I just love that cummies has become the official word to describe Kenobi on this podcast, at least by me and Miles.
And it's a fair word to describe it. And then just a solid end where it's just, you thought things were going to end out well. You thought.
Sorry. Kyler, K. Beasy. How you feeling?
Yeah, I feel like this was an episode. I hate to just kind of pile on the same train as everybody else, but like I said, I do think there were some areas that like it just kind of felt slow. But I also like that what those moments meant. I think it's important, like as cool as the big moments were. There was a lot of lines of dialogue, and not even just between Vader and Kenobi, but I thought there were some lines between Leia and Obi-Wan, like on the truck. And just the general like fear and that grip that Leia started growing towards Kenobi after she kind of started to realize some things. I feel like that was a nice development, and obviously Leia and Obi-Wan are going to be the focus of a large part of the next episode at least, just given where we left off. So I mean, I think that shouldn't be ignored in terms of the big moments about what that did for that story. But yeah, I mean, obviously the stuff between Vader and Obi-Wan, I mean, those are just all hits, no misses. That was never going to be a disappointment. And
yeah,
I think
I'm with you.
I think
sometimes her face reminds me of.
And I guess we'll talk about this later, but like I said, I also thought there was some interesting things that they did creatively, I guess, in terms of shooting and stuff that I really enjoyed. I thought we can talk about it later, or if you want me to just mention it now, I can. It doesn't matter, but.
Nah, man, give me a general.
In that Vader and Kenobi fight, when Kenobi first pulls out that lightsaber and he's getting real, you can tell he's real paranoid. He's freaking out, kind of. And you get that first person with the blur of the lightsaber and like how disorienting it is. He's spinning every which way, and that first person camera shake and the blur. Like I said, I mean, the way that's distorting your eyesight and stuff. Like
slasher
vibes. It just feels like you're right. Like. It felt like what it would feel like to be trying to run from Vader. And if Kenobi's that shaky and scared, I can't imagine what my little bitch ass was going to do in that moment. But.
Yeah, boys, it feels good that we're all right. That we all pretty much predicted.
We are all right
here. Yeah.
We're some all right guys.
We're all right, We're pretty all right.
Like Queen said, we should be
you guys guessed full suit Vader, and we got the full suit up process. So that was sick and in action. So
yeah,
y'all.
The suit up sequence is something I hadn't really. It happened early, and I kind of just watched it. So I just watched.
I thought Vader wasn't coming for a while.
But God, dude, the suit up scene. I haven't had a feeling like that during a suit up scene since. I mean, obviously Iron Man is the obvious answer, but I mean that was like up at the top in terms of like anything like I've ever seen, because that looked so much better than the end of Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm with you. No, go ahead, Miles. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say I just really enjoyed like with the suit up scene as well, but then also Kyler was talking about like the fear that Kenobi showed, like how just the instant as soon as Vader like lands and gets out of the ship that we don't see on screen. He gets out and Kenobi, like they're about to go down the tunnel, and just immediately he just stops. And they're both just like little Leia and the lady that's helping him. They both just look at him and be like, "Hey, come on, asshole, we're leaving."
He's like,
and he's like,
no.
Like it follows the theme of like Rebels, and then
Tina Belcher from Bob's Burgers.
It follows the theme from Rebels and Fallen Order, where just every time he shows up, everyone immediately is just like terrified, and I love it. Yeah, I feel cold, and then the Rebels where Ezra is just immediately like, why, what's that? What is this feeling?
Like there, I think in Rebels, one of them like literally exhales,
breathes into the air, and it's visibly cold,
and it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm with you guys. It was and we'll get some more of that in the scene by scene breakdown. I mean, frankly, for me, Lil Leia is the highlight of the series, has been so far. But let me tell you, in this episode, watching the helmet come down, and as it's coming down, you see what is very clearly the Anakin Skywalker we know in makeup. Like that is, it is Hayden Christensen in the makeup as the helmet's coming down, and it's like, oh my God, it feels more connected than it ever has. It feels more real than it ever did.
Yeah, they wanted to make it a point that like he is in the suit.
And then building on that, moments later, we didn't know for sure. He opens his mouth and it's James Earl Jones. It's the OG. It was nuts. People were like, well, People were like, well, what are we going to get? Hayden Christensen not being able to act because he's in a suit and some guy imitating James Earl Jones? Nah, you'll see Hayden Christensen. You will see him as the suit's coming on him, and you will hear James Earl Jones. And like, oh my God.
Best combination.
Cummies.
Cummies. Yeah. I mean,
here.
I'm curious, like, if they have like a Ahsoka Vader moment where like his mask is off or something, and then like Hayden has to talk. Or if it'll if he'll like lip sync to James Earl Jones' voice, like if the mask is off and he talks,
well,
what happens?
It's interesting because I think there's a
voice changer,
a modulator. That's what it would be. Like, because in Rebels, it's kind of that like split tone where you can hear Matt Lanter voicing Anakin,
but you can also hear the deep Vader.
Yeah.
And that's what I think would be, I don't know if we'll get like the whole cracked, mash scene, but if there's a scene where we hear some Anakin come through and we hear some Hayden Christensen come through, I
think I might have been projecting it onto one of these scenes, but I could have swore there was a line delivery, and if James Earl Jones delivered this line, it's nuts how well he was able to replicate a Hayden Christensen cadence. Like I heard it and went, it's wild that wasn't Hayden Christensen. And I wish I could point to the line specifically because I only watched it once, but I was like, I heard it and I was like, that sounded like him. I wonder, James Earl Jones does voice work. The people on set for Vader have always voiced him. David Prowse in the suit and the OT was voicing him on set. Hayden Christensen's the one voicing him. He's the one saying the lines. So, I wonder how much of it is like an overlay whenever they get a chance and how much of it is pure James Earl Jones, It's interesting to think about. But are you guys ready for a scene-by-scene breakdown?
Let's do it.
Yes.
So, we kick off this episode on Mustafar. We're right in it, baby. And Darth Vader does his whole suit up shit as he's getting assembled by the machinery, and he is informed by the third sister aboard his sitting upon his throne in Vader's castle, and it was like, oh my God, we're getting a full blown Vader in his throne room scene. Talking to the third sister, she explains that Obi-Wan's alive, and she's very important here for me is she goes, and regarding the Grand Inquisitors. And he cuts her off there. We still don't have confirmation that the Grand Inquisitor is dead. Therein, the Grand Inquisitor's not dead. None of these guys are going to be taking his place. It's just not happening.
It kind of seems like they think he's not dead, but they think he's going to die.
Yeah.
But it's also very clear that she passed it off as, yeah, Obi-Wan attacked him before I could stop him. Like, he got a quick stab in. Like, the way that he's like, I don't blame you. Like, I can't remember exactly what he says, but it's like something along the lines of like.
Well, he basically goes, don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's Obi-Wan's fault.
Well, he goes, the Grand Inquisitor means nothing. That's what Vader says.
Yeah, and that just
his most important henchman. He goes, they don't mean shit.
Nothing. Yeah.
So, like, is that him indirectly saying that she also doesn't mean shit to him? Like, if the Grand Inquisitor doesn't
this was my
anything,
thought. One would think, right? One would think that would be your reaction, not one of, oh, bet this is my chance. I'm going to prove myself.
Doesn't mean shit. Let's go.
I think she's going to be, like, against Vader. Like, at least that's the vibe I got. Is she's going to be like, oh, wait, if the Grand Inquisitor means nothing and that's what I want this whole time, why am I going for that in the first place? And, like, I don't know. If she was a Jedi before, maybe she comes back. There. Obi-Wan comes. Like,
I mean,
I
think
I don't know.
I think the way they're setting it up, I think it's leading towards she's gonna become good, like a redemption. Not maybe not like a full redemption, but like at least some form of redemption. Because
like
I feel like that's what they do a lot of time, where they have like a character that's just so bad.
And then it's because
so that way it becomes even more powerful whenever they get redeemed.
They can do this twist where it's like, oh, well, I'm so bad and I want it so selfishly that like, oh, the Grand Inquisitor's still alive and he's about to capture Kenobi or kill Kenobi. I'll kill the Grand Inquisitor, and then Kenobi escapes. But at least he didn't get to kill Kenobi. Like that kind of twist. Like that's the exact shit. Like turns good enough. Good enough.
Yeah. It's kind of like
Joker,
Jedi Fallen
Joker
Order.
killing another Batman villain so that they can't kill Batman.
Yes,
like in Jedi Fallen Order, where that one Inquisitor was trained by who's the lady on the ship with you, like for the
Sarah
whole game?
Junda.
Yeah, like he was trained by her, and like she, like the whole when Vader came and struck her, you failed to be Inquisitor. Like maybe it's kind of like a redemption.
Dude,
I
haven't finished the game, asshole.
Fuck you.
Spoiled.
You've probably seen that scene, like regardless though. If you're a Star Wars fan, you've seen a clip.
You still have everything muted.
Spoilers is like
Twitter. You just no Jedi Fallen Order spoilers.
No, you get leeway for spoilers for like year, maybe 2 years. After that, it's your own fault.
Wait, did I actually?
That's too much. I think like you get like 2 months. At that point, you haven't gone.
No, I'm saying with
video game is different though. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like that's different, especially when like Fallen Order that takes so long.
Yeah, movies you get like weeks.
Movies, it depends because like if you're a Marvel fan, like if you care about seeing the latest Marvel movie, you probably see it within a week or two of it being out.
Yeah. If you care about spoilers,
really generous.
with like Marvel or something, and it's a month after Endgame came out, I don't feel bad for you anymore.
Yeah. But, Night of, fuck that. But nevertheless, too, after Vader dismisses the loss of the Grand Inquisitor, he orders the third sister to prove herself, and she will be made the new Grand Inquisitor. And if you fuck it up, you're gonna die.
I mean,
I'm gonna kill you, bitch.
That's pretty spot on. I mean, what else do you expect from Vader? He's not exactly a gentle ruler, I guess.
He expects perfection.
And I continue to really fuck with Reva and Moses Ingram's performance of Reva. She got warned by Lucasfilm coming into Star Wars that she was going to face some baseless racist attacks, and she has on the internet. It's been pretty disappointing. But the most encouraging thing for me was Ewan McGregor himself posting that video that was like, hey, ain't no room for that. If you're saying shit like that, you're no real Star Wars fan to me.
Yeah, and
I was like,
I don't know. It just sucks because, like, you're going to have people who are going to just be as outrightly terrible and awful about it as they are going to be. And then you're going to have people who say, like, I just can't stand the performance. I can't stand the way that she does the character. And it's like, okay, bro. Like, there's some people who may actually feel that way. Maybe. But my problem is all the ones who masquerade behind that excuse, like, oh, well, I just don't like the performance. Yeah, well, there's a reason.
Here's my thing. When the Star Wars account tweeted, you know, in a galaxy with 20 million species, don't choose to be a racist. If you feel the need there to take it unto yourself to go, wait a minute, I didn't say that. I said she had a bad performance. Guess what, homie? People who aren't racist don't feel the need to defend themselves from accusations of racism. There's, like, you should know unto yourself, you know what? I didn't, like, that's not at all what occurred to me. Therefore, this doesn't apply to me. Like, I have no beef with this. This is correct. If you feel the need to go, actually, you've already fucked up. You've already fucked up.
Yeah, I saw someone say that if you get called a bigot by Ewan McGregor, then you got to really rethink your life. You got to, like, really take a step back, think about what you're doing, because Ewan McGregor just called you a bigot. Like, yeah, that'd be rough.
Oh, I mean, like, can you imagine watching that video and going, fuck, he's talking to me? Like, what? Like, there are people out there who are like, oh, I've got to defend myself here. And it's
and so the other thing that drives me nuts too is, like, these poor actors and actresses in some regards. I guess I shouldn't say poor, you know, they be living a pretty good life out there. But, like, in terms of this, I guess it's insane that, like, these actors or actresses go out and do their performance, and they obviously want to create their own character in their own eyes. They want to put their own performance into it. They want to have its own personal flair, you know? But obviously the director, producer, all of these creative entities are also responsible for kind of shaping and molding that performance and, like, ensuring that it stays within whatever boundaries they have set forth. And, you know, some people, we know that that's a pretty long leash, and others there's not, but it just blows my mind that, like, if it was that bad, if the general perception was that Reva is this overacted and over dramatized and just, like, angry, vengeful, just, like, non-working character, I think that probably wouldn't have been allowed to fly. Like, you see it happen in some film or shows, yes, but not one that's in charge of by Star Wars and Disney. Like,
also, not as if it was allowed to fly, probably not her fault. Probably what the character was written to be.
Exactly.
Right. Like, it's kind of like the whole thing with, like,
Andrew Garfield in The Amazing Spider-Man. Like, that's
I was
going to
say Andrew Garfield, like that, or even fucking Hayden Christensen in the original, or like anyone in the original
we've
trilogy.
Seen it happen.
It's not their fault that the characters to some people were bad. It was the writing's fault.
Yeah, and you know, I continue to really. Go ahead.
I was going to say also, you know, going on the whole, like, what was it, 20 million species or whatever they said?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a galaxy with 20 million species, let's be racist to the species that deserve it, not other humans.
Like Toto's
like
species.
Toto.
I
knew that was coming.
Let's go, Joseph.
Okay, you know what? But we got Totos out there. We got Cad Bane species out there. I don't know what they are. They deserve it.
Chilling. You cut in the Mos Eisley Cantina. You got Duros sitting all over the place. I don't think there's any one species in the Star Wars galaxy. I mean, like, if there's anyone, it's the Trandoshans. Sith aren't necessarily
no, like, as a species, like the original Sith, they deserve racism.
Oh, okay. I see. The original Sith.
The OG Sith.
The original Sith. Okay.
You know what? I think I can cross the line there. You know, if you put it that way, maybe.
But Jesus. Next up, we got Obi-Wan meditating in his cargo bay of the shuttle that he and Leia had boarded to escape Daiyu, and he's reflecting on the fact that he has just learned, Anakin's alive. And the shuttle lands on the planet Mapuzo, and it is under the occupation of the Empire. And Obi-Wan tells Leia, all right, remember, we're farmers from Tall. You're Luma, and I'm, I can't remember, it doesn't matter, I'm Dad.
I'm Dad.
I'm Dad. And the duo begins walking down the road, the yellow brick road, trying to find that Wicked Witch of the West, and they're heading towards the rendezvous point that had been set up by Bail for safe extraction back to the planet Alderaan. And along the way, Obi-Wan explains to Leia that Mapuzo had once been a lush world abundant with resources, and now it was a barren wasteland due to the Empire's mining. And he has this brief vision of a hooded figure on the horizon. And he turns, and it's Anakin Skywalker. And the way they show him distorted, the camera movement here, zooming in on his face, kind of distortedly tilting back and forth. I was like, oh, I love what they're doing here. That's, and it was
the
just
camera
so
work
wild
this
to see.
episode was done really well.
It was really cool. There were a lot. It very rarely felt still, which is
well.
I remember there's one shot of the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor's chair, and the other two, and then Rey was walking away, but she's in the middle of the hole of the chair, and then you have the other two Inquisitors on the side, showing that she's taking the mantle, probably, not them or whatever. And I don't know, it was just the first person view of Obi-Wan, holding his saber, that camera work, I don't know, it was very, I don't know,
creative.
Well, and
it was cool.
I generally have felt like the television shows have, I don't know, I just feel like the filmmaking aspects of the television shows, I feel like it's just so much more, I don't know if they are able to spend more time. I don't know what the deal is, but I felt like there has been, at least just in the gap between the sequel trilogy and even the television and Star Wars now, I mean, just the way that these have looked has just looked so much better. Seeing Star Wars, I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed in starting, growing up on the prequels and then, coming back around to the original trilogy, being able to see it, all of these 4 distinctly different time frames of Star Wars content, just the way that it's only benefited from technological advancement and stuff. It's just made for it. The creative boundaries, I guess, are non-existent at this point, and that's just exciting to hear because they used to have to get real creative, and now they can just, any vision they have can be executed to, brilliant levels, which I think a show with Vader is just perfectly catered to that.
And this was, I was talking to Joe about this off mic, but it's this feeling, and it still feels like this to a degree, but what we were expecting and anticipating, a sequel series of sorts to Revenge of the Sith, it's more and more feeling like a prequel series to A New Hope, which is really cool. And the way that I've looked at it, right, is they're really blending elements of the prequel trilogy and the sequel and the original trilogy. This very next scene when the third sister pulls up at Fortress Inquisitorius. I'm guessing that's the fortress where the Inquisitors hang out. Not very subtle. But when she pulls up, she's walking down that massive hall. We can't see the top of the room she's in. And that very thing reminded me of just the grandiose scale of the prequel trilogy, but it's dark and it's dingy and it's worn down the way stuff looks in the original trilogy. So it's just it's just a really cool blending of elements here. But
tonally, we're kind of closer, I guess, to that original trilogy-ish, I guess.
But
there's something else I was gonna say. Oh, but even details, I love that in obviously this is Vader at the youngest we've seen him, I guess, if that makes sense to say.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously we understood and knew how quick Anakin was at the end of, when he was in Revenge of the Sith and stuff. And so I think that's the thing that I like more is seeing how fearsome and I guess, quick and agile this Vader is. Like, it's completely different. Like, obviously, when we saw Vader in the original trilogy, he was a little slow just because, like I said, the limitations of time and just things like that, But now, like, this fight we'll get to later, but just, like, creatively, the way that they were able to make Vader look so quick and, like, unlike anything I think we've ever seen in a fight between Vader,
Myers.
it was just...
it was giving slasher vibes to the max.
Yeah, I mean, I loved everything about that part. And just like I said, the way that they not only just made it about the fight, but like I said, the details that they went into in all regards creatively was just makes it 10 times better.
I feel you. That is not nice.
Dang.
Siri didn't like
remember that.
Siri didn't like the fighting between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader.
That is not nice. Sorry, Siri.
You're right.
But the third sister walks into the fortress opposite the fifth and I want to say seventh sister for some reason. But she walks in there, barks an order at them, and they're like, "Who said that you're in charge?" And she's like, "Vader."
Vader, bitch.
Yeah, unless you want to follow your orders.
Unless you want me to go tell Vader that you overruled his decision. Then listen, that's
you went.
Yeah,
okay.
That really is the
cool,
ultimate
cool.
go fuck yourself Trump card of like who told who told you could do that? Vader did, and it's like, all right, you know what? I'm not even going to check you on that because
do what you want.
Because I don't even want to go talk to him about it because he scares me.
Well, this is people want to talk about Lando betrayed them in The Empire Strikes Back. The Inquisitors went, yeah, we got to listen to that guy.
Bitch, I'd betray them in Empire Strikes Back.
Right. But nevertheless, she's like, all right, now that we've got that cleared up, go ahead and send the probe droids out so we can pinpoint Obi-Wan Kenobi. And they go ahead and reluctantly agree. But back on Mapuzo, Leia and Obi-Wan eventually reach the rendezvous point, but find that no one is anywhere to be found. And somewhere down the road, a little vehicle is cruising on down the road, and Leia waves him down and is like, "Yeah, I got this shit, Obi. Don't you worry." And up pulls Freck.
And fuck
Frickin' Freck.
Freck.
Man, he had so much potential whenever we first met him. The wildest thing about this episode, we got Vader, we got James Earl Jones, Hayden Christensen, we got it all. The wildest thing to me is that this is not Seth Rogen. That man sounds like Seth Rogen.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
You know what? Whenever he first showed up, I loved the voice acting for him. It was it was
perfect.
But my first thought was, this is Korg in Star Wars. This is his character. I was like, I love it. We're getting to meet him, and then the fucking
it gave me big Mithril vibes from The Mandalorian, the blue guy who just is kind of around every once in a while. Gave me big that guy vibes, and nevertheless. Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, it gave me like Korg vibes at first because I was like, oh, this is just gonna be like the nice, lovable alien character, and then the stormtrooper showed up, and I was like, okay. Maybe
there's subtle things here in a second.
The subtle things.
Nah, the minute that he opened his mouth and started sounding like some Midwestern ass dad, you just knew he was gonna throw the Imperial book at him. Like, oh hell yeah!
Listen,
hell yeah,
no, I'm
brother,
not saying
Imperial or
brother,
killed the Jedi. You could just see it in the way that he said it.
January 6th.
Yeah, you could just tell he had the voice.
But listen,
you just know it when you hear
the voice. My first thought was I was like, lovable alien character that's going to help our protagonists in their time of need.
I was skeptical from the moment.
Listen, I had the hope deep down. I was like, come on. And then
Star Wars is all about, man.
And then the more that he talked, I was like, oh man, this is heck yeah, brother.
Oh yeah, because they climb up in the back of this truck and they're like, okay, there's an Imperial banner.
Nothing wrong with a little bit of order every now and then.
That's like hopping into the That's like hopping into the bed of a truck with a Trump flag lined up on one side and a Confederate flag lined up on the other. And you're like, oh, can't wait for this. And along the way, he's like, so, what are you folks up to? It's nice to have a couple of brother in arms for the Empire. And Leia are like, yeah. Leia and Obi-Wan are like, yeah, sure, man.
Empire.
Okay.
Leia goes like, nah, we love the Empire. She like I was a little worried that she wouldn't like know what the Empire was for some reason. Like, I just didn't know if like
completely.
Yeah.
This is a very informative experience for her, because I think what they've made clear is that she doesn't leave Alderaan, and Alderaan isn't under Imperial occupation. Since they are a senatorial state.
Yeah.
She's had a relatively good experience with the Empire.
Yeah,
she's been completely sheltered from it.
I was going to say, her experience with the Empire is the Senate, which of her, to her, the Empire has been probably not a good thing, but also not a bad thing.
Yeah, well, they're
She's
also
also
around. They're also probably on their best behavior when they're around her. So I mean, that setting, I guess.
Yeah, because it's not fully like Imperial occupied. They still have like the degree of freedom.
Imperial delegates and shit.
Yeah, that pretty soon they won't have, and I think this is like the first experience of, oh fuck, a little bit of order, am I right, Freck?
Nothing wrong with a little bit of order. I thought I was going to hear Seth Rogen's laugh at any second, but a little bit after this.
I'm sorry, I'm going back because you skipped over it. Can I just say I'm so disappointed that Lola's alive, because that means that Toto's not the only one that lives.
Fuck you. So
this Toto, I can't wait till he comes back. I just can't wait.
I think Colton and Kyler might have a meltdown if he comes back in any real capacity. It'd be so funny.
I never would have, but it's gotten so deep now that like,
gotta stick with it.
Your hatred fuels my love, and my love fuels your hatred. It's just a self-repeating cycle that makes it worse and worse.
The anger feeds the hate, which feeds the passion, which it's the whole Sith code all over again. But
oh my god, we're onto something.
We are. But soon after, Freck stops and offers a ride to a bunch of stormtroopers, and they're like, "Sup, dude? You a minor?" And he's like, "Nah, dude, I'm 40." And he's like, "No, I'm a farmer." And Obi-Wan accidentally, he's like, Leia's like, "Oh, blah, 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 blah." And he goes, "They know what they're doing, Leia." And
I'm so happy he was the first one to break.
Oh, it makes me so happy. Like it's so.
We've been shown so much in this season already that he is just like, I ain't as good as I once was. Just like he doesn't have that shit on him like that.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yep, exactly.
Just the immediate, just like the frustration of it. Also, it really is like the frustration of like a parent with a kid of just be like, Leia, shut the fuck up. They know what they're doing. And then they all just kind of look at him like, Leia.
They said, you called her Leia. And he was pretty good on his feet in response. He was pretty good. He went like, her mother's name was Leia.
The whole time that this scene was happening, I was just waiting for the, like, I had been waiting for these are not the droids you're looking for. I thought that was going to be his way of being like, oh, I fucked this up and showed that maybe I don't quite have it as, like I used to. And then he's like, oh, I got to fix it. And he's going to be like, I'll pull this out of my ass. Like, no.
Yeah.
He just fucked up and then was just like, Leia, help me save this a little bit.
Well, and I love this situation though, because like, I mean, obviously we're not cops, so like we haven't been in this exact stormtrooper situation. But have you ever been around someone who brings up some like really, really heavy shit, and then you have to be like, ah, man.
Ah, damn, yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm so sorry about that.
Well,
all right, Freck, let us out up here, man. This is where we hop off. This guy really brought the mood down.
Yeah, you say something and someone hits you back with something really depressing. You're like, I don't want to be in this conversation anymore, so bye.
And I love the way that he like, and part of it was very genuine when he looks down at her and goes, every time I look at her, I see her mother's face. There's sometimes when I look at her, I see her mother's face, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Are you my real father?
Oh, my God, yeah. And then they hop on off. They hop on off, and Leia's like, so you knew my real mom? And he's like, yeah, I did. And are you my real dad?
Fuck.
And like the response that I wish I could say that I was. Like for the life of me, yeah, I wish. But
is that because he wants to get with Padme, or no? I'm kidding.
Yes.
I'm okay. No. I understand.
No, yeah, it's
the actual meaning. No.
Of course. But
I
it's
mean,
because he got
a good
Padme.
part though.
He is her dad.
Potentially.
Yeah. Oh, wow. A what if that would be? Yeah.
But Leia shares with Obi-Wan that she quite often thinks of what her real family looked like. And let me tell you, when she said that, kind of had a little bit of a moment where I was just like, oh, wouldn't it have been nice? Anakin and Padme raising Luke and Leia somewhere on Naboo. I was just like, God damn, that hurts. That hurts to think about. But and Obi-Wan relays that he can relate, and he says he vaguely remembers his parents, and he thinks he remembers a baby, potentially a younger brother. And this, I texted in the group chat earlier that I have a theory, and this is where it begins. So Obi-Wan reveals he has a brother. He remembers having a brother. There is a very not important to the point where she's had a lot of screen time, but important in what she does. Important character who does not have a name.
I think I know who you're talking about.
We know Rey's dad is a Palpatine. Now, what if Kenobi's brother has a daughter or son, and their child is Rey's mother, and therein she becomes a Kenobi and a Palpatine by blood? Like, what if Ben Kenobi is great uncle Ben?
So you're
and his brother.
So you're saying
it would be following family tradition of falling in love with family members.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Is Obi-Wan like old enough to be
Rey's grandpa? Yeah.
Grandpa. Definitely grandfather.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying is that his brother would be Rey's grandpa.
Yeah, I wrote a whole essay on how I thought Obi-Wan was Rey's father. And that just doesn't even work, just timeline wise. Like, I just realized my whole.
So you should have got an F, right?
Well, I just think that in conjunction with the Palpatine thing would tighten her ties to the Skywalkers so heavily that the reason it calls to her is of how close her family lineage is to that family lineage, and like
she does have a lot of Kenobi tendencies, like the Jedi mind trick. You know, she do that. You know, we've only seen Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Rey do that. That's it.
So yeah, I mean, and like I said, I text in the group chat. It's not a consequential theory. It's not like it changes anything we know. It just adds something to a story that otherwise is fine. Like it's just adds another layer of connectivity to the all in the family of Star Wars. But I thought that I thought of that and I was like, I think I like that. I think I like that.
Wow. So your prediction is that Obi-Wan is great Uncle Ben to Rey.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Brother of Grandpa.
Brother of Grandpa. Yes. Brother.
Great uncle.
Brother.
I think that's right. I think the brother of Grandpa is
brother
great
of
uncle.
Grandpa is great uncle.
Okay, thank you. But so that's the theory. It's not very consequential. Doesn't change anything in this series. Doesn't change anything in the sequel trilogy. Just kind of a thing that I think would be a cool little. If we got like little confirmations, like little hints at that being the case over time, that'd be cool. But soon after that, Vrek stops his vehicle at an Imperial checkpoint. Nobody's like, before we get there, you think you can
let us hop out?
You can let us run out? He's like, no, this is standard. It'll take a couple seconds. And he walks up to one of the stormtroopers and goes, yeah, I picked up these two. You might want to check them out. And I was like, fucking Vrek.
Yeah.
He's number 2 on my hit list.
So much potential.
He's only behind Toto.
That's it.
That's what I assumed.
Wow.
And then like he might be third. Him and the stormtrooper who punched Grogu.
Fuck that guy.
That dude does deserve to die
on the streets.
They all do.
Honestly, there's
Toto,
a decent chance he's already dead.
The most.
Hopefully.
The stormtrooper?
Yeah.
I think he is. He is. But I would necromance his ass back to life
just to kill him again.
Murder him again.
That's fair.
That's fair. Yeah, that's very. I mean, multiple times even. I think he'd
potentially. If I have the power to necromance him once, I mean, I did it again and did it again and did it again. But the stormtrooper calls onto a probe droid, and it comes on over. They order Obi-Wan out of the vehicle, and he stands, his head down. Probe droid's trying to get a look at him. They're like, "Get your head up." He lifts his head up and is like, "All right, got a blast." He goes ahead and blasts this probe droid straight up, and a little too late, man. Could have done that a second earlier. Planned on shooting it anyway. Now it's scanned to your face. And
he's rusty. He's rusty.
He's a little rusty, hey, but not rusty enough to not quickly destroy all these stormtroopers around him.
Fair.
And one of them gets cut in half.
Yeah.
Oh,
this
show
has gone like in random moments, just very like.
I think that was just to prepare. Just a little, like, hey,
it was like,
maybe expect people just to die. Just get used to it.
It wasn't even like he got hit with a blaster bolt and, he fell down, he's probably dead, but at least it was a quick death. This was, he got shot by a blaster bolt, fell off of his little perch, screamed, and then just right in the middle.
Wow. But, yeah, man, that was some shit. And he goes on through the checkpoint after it is shut down by him blasting that shit, and a small squad of stormtroopers along with an Imperial officer arrives. And unbeknownst to the troopers, the officer, Tala Durith, was actually Bail's contact. And Tala proceeds to kill the troopers and help an Obi-Wan and Leia escape. And I was like, yeah! I love her.
There's just something beautiful about seeing someone in an Imperial officer uniform be traitorous against the Empire.
Yeah, like a little bit of rebellion to, and like I wonder, like I'm curious, like she came over with them in an Imperial shuttle.
So the long game, she's been playing it on the inside for a minute now. That's what that.
Yeah, she's an Imperial officer, which is like, at least as far as I can tell, she might have like boosted the uniform off somebody, but like I don't get that vibe.
No,
I think
she says later on, she's like, no, I joined the Empire thinking I was doing good, and then realized too late. Yeah, she says whenever she's talking to Obi-Wan, and she says like, I realized too late what they were actually doing, and by that point, I feel like once you're an Imperial officer, you can't just be like, you know what, guys, I think I'm just gonna quit. I'm gonna retire early.
I'll put in my 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not really something you can do. So yeah, she's like, yeah, so I decided to do what good I could.
They said, ma'am, you fuck with the mob and you've got ties. We can't have that.
Know what we're doing on the inside.
Yeah, but
you are one of us now.
Tala brings Obi-Wan and Leia to a settlement nearby, and she's like, we need to lay low for a few hours until one of the pilots can take them off-world, and they seek shelter in Tala's workshop, where she reveals that she secretly works to help Jedi and other Force sensitives to escape, to hide. And like this room that is seemingly like a little truck stop for a bunch of Jedi who have come on through before, which I absolutely love. Get a little allusion to Quinlan Vos, which if you're a Clone Wars fan, you absolutely fucking love to hear that. It was just like he's always had that ability to hunt and track. Like that was his heightened sensibility through the Force a little bit, and to know he's utilizing it to track Jedi, to hide them, like that's really cool. And another confirmed survivor of Order 66.
Yeah, and I felt like when she said it, we get the mention of Quinlan Vos and stuff, but I felt like there was more, and I'd be curious to see if that's something that's ever relevant again in the show.
Right, like how many have been through?
Yeah, and even if it's not like necessarily seeing those, but just like you said, like you said another person confirmed to survive Order 66. I think that's a super interesting area of this universe that we don't have a ton of knowledge in. I mean, we know of Cal Kestis has made it through. You have your bits and pieces here and there from some various formats of, I guess.
I think it's really cool because, there are people who say like the more survivors there are, the lesser it makes Luke important. But there are like 100,000 Jedi, I think. They killed 99%, which basically still leaves over 100.
Yeah, and what I like is that, like, I think you can see a lot of different examples of how that may look to a Jedi. Like, Obi-Wan acting and saying that, like, he's basically denounced all of his ways, like, bury that thing in the ground, all of this. Obviously he's not as tied to that philosophy as he is. He's just a little, depressed boy right now. He's a little sad. But, there are definitely probably Jedi out there that have completely denounced the way and are just have integrated themselves into society as normal non-Jedi people who just
like cut themselves off from the Force and shit. Like
I'm sure that obviously that number is like I just think that theory is a little ridiculous because it's not going to be every single Jedi is going to be like, oh, I'm going to keep doing Jedi shit. Like there isn't a ton of examples of that.
And even if they do, most of them are just going to be doing Jedi shit on the down low, and it's not like
it's not going to be as impactful
starting up
as
a whole new fucking Jedi order.
I see.
Because if they do, they're going to get cut down pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. But soon hereafter, Tala also reveals that she also believed in the Empire once upon a time, but grew disillusioned with the regime. When it became very totalitarian, which I think we're kind of witnessing in the Bad Batch, the ramp up to totalitarianism. Like we see like the first steps where they had everybody get their chain codes and stuff, and then, but the end of that show, the first season anyway, the destruction of Kamino is seemingly the first time they exude their power like that. As far as destroying planets on cities, or cities on planets. Like that's some pretty totalitarian shit right there. But later on, night falls and the trio depart for the spaceport, or they plan to through this little tunnel. But then Obi-Wan senses something.
Oh man,
a little disturbance.
Yeah, let's talk about this. This was awesome. The way that they filmed this, I mean, okay, so I guess if this is spoilers, it's spoilers, I guess, Stranger Things.
Fuck yeah. It's
but like,
scene by scene.
In terms of the new content we've gotten, you want to talk about two musical cues that just strike fear and unease, just based on the sound alone. Fucking Vecna's curse, or whatever you want to label that sound as, in the fucking clock chime. And then this moment where just like the sound and the way this was filmed with Kenobi when he realizes who's there, and the way that they draw it out to where it's just that unease is dragged on as long as possible until you finally can't contain it and then you see him. Oh man, that shit was fucking awesome. You want to talk about hyping up and playing up the emotion and I guess kind of in a sense horror vibe. That was textbook. I think amazing.
They're 100% going for something in the horror vein. It's obviously not full blown horror, but it's but they're going with a slasher type villain.
And I think it's to reflect
no matter what you do, you won't escape this guy.
I think they want to, I guess, emphasize that at this point in time, this is what Vader was like, and you haven't seen him this way, and he was vengeful as rife with anger and fucking violence as he possibly ever was.
Hey, there's a reason no one knows he exists.
Yeah, and that's why there's just legend. That's why there's just myth.
You die.
Ooh.
But outside the building, Darth Vader and some Inquisitors pull on up, and Vader walks through the streets, and he goes ahead and he's like, you know what? This is what I feel like doing. I think I sent somebody here. Let's see if this will get him out. And he holds a dude up into the air by a force choke. Seemingly probably kills him, I'm assuming. The son of this gentleman runs outside, goes, "Dad!" And Vader goes, "Ha ha ha ha." Oh, cracks his neck. And then another person comes up behind him, and he goes ahead and chokes them, puts them on the ground, and drags them behind him for a while. And it's like, oh,
it's so
wow.
fucking gruesome. I love it. Just
did he do it because he knew Obi-Wan was watching him?
No, I think he just did it because
he stopped. Because he stopped.
I think
like,
it's
and he was like,
I think he would have done. I think it's not like it's obviously like he has no problem doing it. Obviously, he does it, but I think there is something to the idea like we think Obi-Wan's here. Let's see how many people he'll let me kill.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think he did it because
it's not like this will draw him out. It's like, let's see how many of these motherfuckers I can strike down before Obi-Wan Kenobi goes, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was that, not a Obi-Wan, I know you're sitting there watching me, so I'm gonna kill people because you're hiding.
I don't know.
I'm gonna kill people to get you out.
He was walking, and he was walking past people. And then as he got close to Kenobi, and Kenobi was like right at the window watching him, he like stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And
I got
then
the same vibe you did,
and
Joe.
then I don't know.
And that's the thing is that I do think it inspired the chain of events that unfolded, but I'm also saying I don't think it's. I think he does this pretty much no matter what. Like if he's pulling up to a place, he's going to inspire fear in the streets. And let you know
if he's pulling up to a place where he thinks there's like a Jedi that is hiding, he's gonna go around fuck some shit up until either the Jedi comes out or he's killed. Probably quite.
Yeah, and I mean we already saw this. We already saw this. What was it? Last episode or the episode before, where they started just basically trying to draw. Oh, it was the first episode, right?
Yeah, the
is
first
that
episode
where
they were
Obi-Wan's in the stable and they.
And she cuts off the lady's hand.
Off an arm and stuff.
Yeah. That's exactly the same premise. Is just trying to do anything because they know the Jedi can't contain themselves in a moment, in that setting.
Thinking of, so I hate Reva because she's too cold and uncaring. I also hate Darth Vader because he's
insubordinate.
Darth Vader
because disobeying orders.
He's too cold and uncaring. I don't like his character. I don't like Darth Vader anymore. He's too cold.
He's just not nice enough for me.
Yeah, he's not nice enough for me. He doesn't do it for me.
There's only room for one character that's cold like that. Okay, God.
No, all love to Vader and Reva, but Vader, after walking through these streets for a little bit, Obi-Wan's like, all right, so yeah, you go ahead and get Leia to Alderaan. I'm gonna make sure this doesn't affect her.
But he said, promise me, because he's like, I'm not coming back from this, probably. Like that, he was like, I'm dead. I'm dead here.
And there's those notes of, a little bit of a callback to one of the biggest promises he's ever made in his life. Promise me you'll train the boy. Promise me you'll get this girl to Alderaan. I think those words Bail said the time he spent with her has made him go, yeah, she is every bit as important as he is. Get her away from here. Get her to Alderaan. Yeah. They go ahead and head to the spaceport, but Obi-Wan flees into a nearby quarry, and he is pursued by Vader. And as Obi-Wan heads through the quarry, you know, he's like looking around and he's like real panicked, and then Vader appears and he ignites his lightsaber. And Obi-Wan draws his saber and goes,
They edge us, dude. Literally. They know what they're fucking doing.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing though, is that like it's weird to think about it as like them prolonging gratification, because they do it a second later and it's very uneventful. It just happens. I took it as like he's genuinely scared to open this part of himself up again. Like, it's not just I'm scared to fight Vader. It's that like, oh my God, is this real? Like, am I really about to fucking do this? I'm going to try to avoid it a little bit longer. He runs over, and then we see Vader emerge from the shadows.
Okay. So interesting parallel, I get, or not parallel, but something to think about here is like, he's been in some hot water throughout the course of the season so far already. But he's never resorted to pulling out the lightsaber, and he's never truly looked panicked. Like, even in this episode earlier when he just pulled out the blaster and started blasting the stormtroopers, like, he was a little nervous, it looked like, but never, like, totally panicked or, like, scared. But this is the first moment that we've seen him actually scared. Like, in my opinion, anyway. And that's when you notice he whips out the lightsaber and he's all, like, shaky and manic and just, like, freaked out. I think he's probably turning to that lightsaber as like, oh shit, like it's real now. I really gotta.
I didn't think you were alive a couple days ago. Now that you are,
I didn't think you were alive.
Killed
6 hours ago,
and then you just killed like 4 people right in front of me. Didn't give 2 shits. I'm scared for my life. Yeah, I'm shitting my pants. If I'm open.
Just the like in this scene where Darth Vader like just like really does just come out of the darkness. Like you just see like the complete darkness, and then you see the chest plate, the little computer panel on his chest, like just get illuminated. And I was like, oh yes.
It made me so upset because there was a moment where it went really quiet. Like the sound went really quiet. It's total darkness except for the blue, and it's a faint, like it's not super bright. Like they definitely dimmed it down, and it's just Obi-Wan's face barely lit up, and he's like heavy breathing. You can kind of see him like, catching his breath. And it was so dark behind him, and there was a perfect frame, like rule of thirds, like a perfect frame where Vader could have been. And I was just waiting for the slow ignite lightsaber, and I was like, come on, do it. And then it did it, and then I think like 2 seconds later it like changed the total angle, and then Vader showed up, and I was like, God damn it, that would have been perfect. But
I do agree. I was disappointed too, but I also was like, they're not going like full horror movie with this, like 100%, because that would have been the horror movie where it's just like the killer's behind you with a knife type thing.
I guess you're right, but kind of want it though, because we've never seen it.
I wanted it.
We've never seen it in space, man.
But upon seeing Vader here, Obi-Wan goes ahead and draws his saber this time, and he asks, "What have you become?"
I am what you made me.
Damn.
I was like, oh man, he really holds a grudge against this guy for this, huh?
Like, and like for why? For what though? Like, it's just like your legs, your other arm.
You turned her against me.
Basically, all functionality of his body.
Padme.
Your child, your wife, like. And like, what do you even have to hold a grudge for, man?
And maybe it's James Earl Jones that's doing it and making this dialogue just really hit 10 times different for me, because this is the first time we've heard him since, the original trilogy, really, I guess. But fuck, man, this dialogue in this episode, like, you can hear the hate in, like, this is still Anakin, like, in a sense, like, the hate you hear. Like, the dialogue is so fitting for just, like, you can hear Anakin saying that, like, Revenge of the Sith, all those hateful lines you had at the end, like, just that hate, like, you hear that, and, like, hearing it, oh, man. He's in an angry place right now, and we've never really seen that with Vader. Like, he's kind of been stoic and just, like, going about his business, but, like, this is just coming from a place of pure hate, and, like, this is, I think,
he's rageful.
I think this is as Sith as we've probably seen him, and this is probably the fiercest.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, we obviously saw him in Rogue One even then, he's an agent of the Empire cutting down rebels. It's a war. That's who he's probably going to be killing. We don't really see him casually kill a lot of people in the original trilogy. I mean, at the end of Revenge of the Sith, we obviously watch him slaughter children. But
yeah, that one was pretty bad.
But Vader in full suit. Vader in full suit. We haven't seen this Vader.
We see him slaughter children twice. Once just children, once women and children.
Oh, the Tusken Raiders. Yes.
True.
Yeah. It was still Anakin then, though. But nevertheless, Obi-Wan tries to go ahead and run a little bit more, just like a little bit further away, and we cut over to Leia convincing Tala to return and help Obi-Wan. You know, he needs your help. Go back. And I am fully capable of getting there on my own. And, you know, frankly, this is the right move. At least now Tala's alive and she was able to save Obi-Wan Kenobi. She was going to get killed by the third sister and Leia was going to get taken anyway. So, all in all, I consider this a dub. And she goes ahead and agrees and heads back to Obi-Wan. And we see that him continue to traverse, now being hunted by Vader. And suddenly he emerges from the darkness and swings his lightsaber at Obi-Wan. And he deflects the blade with his own. And man, this duel, it's very Empire Strikes Back. You know, Obi-Wan is very clearly not his full self. Vader is very clearly taunting him. He's got the one arm going. Just
one hand. Yeah. At ease. Dude's at so easy
for this
right
man.
now.
And the way that light reflected off my man's
Vader. And I loved that the way when those blades would interact with each other, like I just the new technology. I can't keep saying it, but I'm gonna
the nice sweet purple
ray tracing.
Yeah,
from the
I mean, even the difference
colliding.
between and Kylo Ren had one of the most unique lightsabers, obviously we've ever seen, and the way that those blades looked was obviously such a change and just so drastically like more, I guess, beautiful or masterful in the way that it appeared and interacted with other blades. But like it has felt like it's jumped ahead even between then and now. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, just like I said, maybe it's just me being favorite, I guess, a homer for, you know, prequel trilogy. This is my Kenobi, my Anakin, essentially, you know, but it looks so fucking good, man. I couldn't get over that.
I think the visuals involving lightsabers do look good. There was still something about this choreography for me, and like I don't have beef. I thought it was a well executed duel and everything. And it's almost certainly intentional because Obi-Wan's rusty. It's not smooth. It doesn't look clean. That is still kind of weird about this particular lightsaber battle, but I even think it comes through like with Ahsoka's sabers and the dark saber and the Mandalorian and stuff. Like I feel like there is a difference that we can visibly tell between the movie sabers and the TV sabers. There's something different about what's going on there. But even so, I really it feels much more real. Like I feel like those blades are there. I feel like they're hitting off of each other, and I'm used to it being like
and really
CGI blade. It's completely weightless. You can't tell that they're making contact.
And that's what I'll say. You could feel the weight of every blow that Vader took because he was swinging hard, and like Obi-Wan is just in defense mode, just trying to, you know, I guess what is it, parry every strike, and like you can tell like when he takes that blow, like you see the impact, you feel it, and like you can see it when the colors, you know, it pops right then in that moment, and like all of that, I just felt like looked great. Basically what this fight has led me to believe is that we are just one Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber Rocky montage away from him becoming another. He's gonna get back on his bullshit. That's just
as I called it. We're getting a training montage.
No, we need it. It's gonna be straight out of Rocky, like just the music. We're gonna somebody's throwing something down vicious right here. On the
choreography, Colton. As Kyler was kind of talking about, I really loved that it showed like, especially like the whole fight scene, even before like the fight scene, that Obi-Wan looks so like disheveled. His hair is like falling down in front of his face the entire time, like covering his eyes. He looks like shit.
Well, and I love that Vader called him out on it too. I love that Vader, that dialogue where he says, "You look, I can't remember.
The years have made you weak."
Yeah,
or
I mean,
well, and then it's a weak shit Obi-Wan who's had the years drain him, not training anymore, and then it's Anakin Vader, who's been training, who has been just seething in anger this whole time, who at this point, he knows that he's better than Obi-Wan. And I love it because it just shows him the whole, like, just using one hand the entire time. Not even attempting to use the other hand to fight it all. And then just sitting there, just Obi-Wan's in defense mode, and then he's just sitting there just wailing on him like he's wailing on him with a fucking baseball bat because he's like, I'm just going to sit here and wail on you until you let your guard down, and then I'm going to, go in for a real attack.
And so what I love about it too is just kind of thinking, I guess, in terms of a broader scale. When you look back at Anakin's like mindset when he fought him in Revenge of the Sith, he's so cocky and arrogant. Like he has no doubt in his mind that he has progressed and has risen above his master in terms of mastery of, lightsaber duels and just power entirely. I love that he's even more cocky in this fight, and it arguably shows in the actual performance too that Obi-Wan is clearly actually now fallen below, and I think that's setting something up.
Very large
and I think it's setting it up for just a great fight later in this show. I think the climactic, presume to be the climactic fight between those two. I'm not going to say the show, but between those two,
you could say, Cummies fight.
It is going to be, it's set up beautifully for Obi-Wan to, in these next few episodes, come to terms with the fact that he has no doubts, I guess. He's already mentioned how he's fallen off and he's not exactly who he once was. But I think this is the, reality check where it's like, okay, it's getting real. I can't hide as easily anymore. I'm going to have to fight him at some point. I need to prepare, essentially. He knows that's what this is building it to. He knows the relentlessness of Anakin and Darth Vader. He's not going to be able to run, anymore. He's going to have to...
Well, he might be able to run, but something interesting about the implications of the end of this episode is, and where he's just generally been, is that this man cannot go back to Tatooine until this is sorted.
Yeah, he can't lead Vader right to him, right to Luke.
No, he cannot go back to Tatooine until this is done.
Not only can he not go back to Tatooine until this is done, he also now will probably have to go into either Vader's palace or the Inquisitor's palace and actually go on the attack, which is not, not a very Obi-Wan thing to do.
Well, unless it's General Grievous, which he will just drop into that bitch, no plan, and say, hello.
Well, they have Leia now. He has to.
Damn.
He has to now go on the offensive.
She's taking.
Hey, he was pretty damn good at it in A New Hope, and he was old and decrepit.
Let's get to the end of this episode breakdown because we are so close. We're skipping ahead to the Reva being taking Leia. But there's a pretty awesome moment we haven't talked about here where Vader knocks down the flammable rocks, lifts Obi-Wan into the air, lights that shit on fire, and goes, check this shit out, man.
How does it feel?
I think that might have been one of the best moments in this episode for me. I mean, just that
it's the strongest moment of the episode.
I think it's the strongest display of vengeance I think I've seen in Star Wars ever, and that is the biggest display to me of Sith behavior I think you could probably see.
Well, especially since he has Obi-Wan in a force hold right now, in the air without a lightsaber. He could just end it.
Mm-hmm.
He has Obi-Wan dead right now, and instead, because he's a Sith, and because all he's thought about is vengeance for the past 10 years, he just says, no, I'm going to make you suffer.
Oh, and the way he holds him with his left hand and kind of gingerly lays his right lightsaber down with his right to light the fire, and it's like, oh, he's like, yeah, your pain.
I think it was made explicitly clear, he is enjoying every fucking second of that moment.
He loves
he wants to sit in this moment and really.
I also don't think, because I'm watching it back through, he's not planning on killing him anytime soon either. Because he blows the fire out, blows Obi-Wan away, and tells him, bring him to me, because he's planning on probably bringing him back to Mustafar and, spending a decent amount of time torturing him.
Yeah, probably throwing him in the lava, putting him on the edge of that shit and like, burn, bitch.
Cutting off his limbs.
Yeah, probably. He wants to make him suffer, which is awesome.
It is pretty fucking awesome. But in this last moment, a little Deus Ex Machina, Tala pulls up, reignites the rock with a blaster bolt, cutting Obi-Wan off from the troops after she shoots down one of them that was in pursuit of Obi-Wan, and Tala quickly moves in to rescue Kenobi, who has sustained serious burns. And they escape.
That loading droid, man. Are we going to hear him talk ever? It looks like he has a little thing where he can.
I was thinking the same thing. I hope he does.
Yeah, I hope he's like,
I hope he tells. Like, I think it would be a great through line.
Like just a single word, or like, I don't know, hope.
I think it'll be a great pull through if Leia does something to protect him, and his first words are "thank you."
Well, no, I don't think he can talk. Like,
they said they don't allow them to.
Yeah, I don't think they have like a speaker or whatever to like let. But
I don't know. It looked like he had a thing right there. I don't know.
It's probably just how he looks like, kind of humanoid.
It said they didn't say that they couldn't talk. They said they're just not allowed to.
That's fair. So maybe they very well could be like a thing where they used to be able to talk back whenever they were minors or like loading bots or whatever for the Republic, but now that it's the Empire, fuck out of here with that bullshit.
Fuck out of here. But as Leia heads to the ship, she runs into the third sister and she's like, you the one who's supposed to help me? And she's like, yeah, I got you. And she sees a dead body on the ground. And Leia's like, okay, I'm a go. Sorry. And she turns and runs. Third sister goes after her. And therein we cut to black.
So is Leia and Vader going, is she going to bring Leia to Vader?
At this point, though, we talked about this last episode, right? That we don't really know to the extent of who knows any kinship, I guess, really, between the children.
Like, Vader wouldn't be able to sense Leia at all, you think,
I mean, like, he doesn't in episode 4, and that's...
Yeah. I think this almost, to me, seems like a thing where, like, I don't think Obi-Wan would have to attack Mustafar. I think she's just going to take Leia to their, Palace Inquisitorius
Fortress.
Or Fortress, I'm sorry.
Is that really the name? Are you being serious?
Yeah, that's the real
wait, that's actually the name?
Sounds like a Harry Potter spell.
Fortress Inquisitorius.
Yeah.
I hate that. But I feel like it seems like the thing where she would just be like, hey, I'm taking you back here, is going to leave Obi-Wan like a clue to be like Leia's with me. So Obi-Wan has to actually attack them, and then she can just sit there and wait, capture Obi-Wan, and deliver him directly to Vader.
And that would postpone him and Vader meeting again for at least another couple episodes.
Yeah.
I just think,
and that's
you bring up a great point, Miles. I just think that given what we've seen from Reva so far, she is so intent on doing this on her own and having it be on her shoulders. Like, I did this. You need to give me power now and what I want, and this and that. I think that's going to get leveraged in some form thematically, and where the story goes, because it has to. I mean, it's been written this way.
I don't even think she wants Vader to help her capture Obi-Wan. I think ideally she wants to capture Obi-Wan entirely on her own. So she can say, I captured him, you didn't do shit, give me power.
Well, and I think just knowing that he's probably, at least from many people's perception, I guess, in like the Empire and stuff, Obi-Wan, and we kind of got a line about this last episode too, but Obi-Wan's arguably the strongest Jedi remaining, at least to many people's knowledge. Obviously, Yoda's still out there, but many would be more fearsome of Kenobi than any other Jedi, just given his age and the way that he will be able to
Mace Windu.
outlast, given with age, if he can stay out of the limelight.
Prediction. Episode
having that badge as like having that badge for Reva is like, I'm the Inquisitor who brought in Kenobi. Like, you wouldn't go say that if you brought in, like, and this is no disrespect on any of these Jedi, but like, if it was Isla Secura or that's not the same status, you know what I mean? Like, you want to bring in the big gun and impress,
Well,
because Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker were legends in the Republic.
Well, also, you got to think about it. Right now, there are 2 masters left. Yoda, who is a ball of dust on a jungle planet.
Until we see Mace Windu
and Obi-Wan. Yeah, until we see Mace Windu in the final episode. That is our prediction for this episode.
Which is a sound.
Right.
I could see it. Like, them waiting to bring him back for...
Same thing.
Something as big as Kenobi.
Episode 2 of Moon Knight, you said the one dude was Mephisto. Episode 2 of our recording of Obi-Wan, we're saying Mace Windu comes back in the final episode.
Yes.
I mean, and frankly, we'll probably make that prediction for everything set post Revenge of the Sith from here.
Exactly.
Yeah. No.
Until they decide at some point to finally like sit down everyone collectively and say Mace Windu is dead. He's not coming back. And then we'll still say he's coming back.
All right. Well, with that, let's get into the rating section of this here podcast. We got Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 3. So, like, I'll explain it for everyone who's new here. Part 3 is a weird place to jump in, but, fuck it. We got three rating sections. We got one for enjoyment, one for genre, and one for critical value is what I'll call it. Enjoyment, it's just how much it resonated with us, and I think it's probably safe to say this is a 5 across the board for us.
Joseph, I like that you had filled that out before even talking about it. Just 5 immediately.
I think it's pretty much no doubt.
Yeah, I figured.
You'll hear no argument from me.
Then we've got the genre rating. Sorry, go ahead.
No, the enjoyment was a 5, and I think genre, I mean, like we kind of talked about in the first 2. I don't know how, it's kind of hard to slip out of a 5 in this genre. It's pretty genre defining.
Yeah, it's Star Wars, baby. This is a 5 out of 5 in enjoyment, 5 out of 5 as far as it fulfills its genre, the way it...
If I can pose a wrinkle, maybe if we're going to do genre, and this, you can tweak this or tell me I'm an idiot all you want, I'm not going to be offended. But maybe for genre, we should look at, like, I guess, feature, like, I'm going to say, like, feature television, but maybe we take it a step further, go, like, Disney Plus television, like that as a genre. I know that it's really been a big topic of discussion of, like, comparing, like, MCU television with Star Wars television, like, who's doing better, and, like, there's a little bit of a competitive nature there, and given that Moon Knight has, been the last Marvel show and arguably the most recent show in this kind of genre, it could be interesting to have, like, those kind of two, I guess, tie together.
I'm with you. I think for a Disney Plus category, I think that's a fair idea, and
but it might be hard now, given that we shaped Moon Knight's genre as, like, probably either MCU television or just, like...
Yeah, and, like, it's an ever-changing tapestry. This shit's... We do whatever we want, so it's like, fuck it. I do like that idea. I mean, that is always to be considered, when it came to Moon Knight, the thing we discussed was superhero television as a genre.
Yeah, and that's not exactly...
Well, but even if we expand it to... I mean, I think most of us would agree that so far, at least, Star Wars television has generally been better than MCU television.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if we throw in the MCU shows, I would still say that, like, genre-wise, this is, at least this episode, I enjoyed more than all but a couple episodes of even Star Wars television.
Yeah.
Yeah, like...
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I'm with you. A lot of... And this brings us to the last one, critical value, where we kind of discuss... all the important things, the acting, the soundtrack, the filmmaking, the cinematography, sound editing, all that shit. So this is most effective in that editing category for me, and that and those shots of Vader through the fire and oh man, they were fucking nailing it. But
while I was watching it, the only thing I could think was just this. I thought of this exact thing happening, and I'm like, this is a 5. I enjoy. I guess not from an enjoyment standpoint, but I caught myself noticing and mentioning things in my head or noting things to talk about in here that were more tied to critical things, like in this genre, I guess, or category. That I was like, if this is the only 5, like I'm sitting here telling myself, if this is the only 5 I give out in terms of film, like critical analysis in terms of like editing, all of those things, I'm fine with that. This one, if it doesn't get topped, like that was just what the bar this one set. Like that's how much I think they, I guess, popped their shit in this episode.
I respect that perspective for sure. And I think from a strictly filmmaking standpoint, this probably is the strongest episode. But as a single episode of storytelling for me, I think it's very fun to watch. It's very entertaining. But storytelling wise, I don't know that it is as good to me as the last couple episodes.
And I suppose that's true. And what we talked about at the beginning, that's where that stems from. But like I said, I just felt like the way that things were framed and shots and just all of those little things that unless there are things that even if you don't know the terms or don't know what exactly you're watching, you know that you like watching it better that way. Like, you can just tell.
Cinematography is a big part, but I think story is a huge chunk of the critical rating. We usually hold story at a pretty big weight, because this is 1 week. We have to wait a whole another week for the next episode.
Yeah, and recency bias. And
they need to satisfy. Yeah, they need to satisfy you for that week. And I feel like I was more satisfied coming off of episode 2 than I was after this episode. Yes, the moments in this episode were much more grand and insane. I couldn't believe they were happening, but I was more fulfilled watching an episode of television.
And I see what you mean. And I think sorry, go ahead, Colton.
No, I was just going to say the story they unfolded over the and it helps that it was a 2-episode premiere, but even within that second episode, there was a clear and concise arc throughout that episode. We made it to Dayu. The goal was to get Leia off safe, and whatever happens along the way. We make it off Dayu safe. The whole arc of that episode happens. We get revelations. This episode, while awesome, is unfulfilled. It is,
and I think
just a segment of the story.
I think part of that is the fact that this episode is setting up.
I have no doubt that
it does more towards setup, whereas to push the story along further, like episode 2 had episode 1 to set it up, so episode 2 could have that clear and concise arc, whereas this is the setup with some arc and then also some really cool moments.
I think episode 1 had more of a singular arc.
It doesn't have that clear and concise arc. Well, but you think at this episode, the slow part that we were like, cool, of them talking and doing all that stuff, that's no different than episode 1's seeing Obi-Wan be a butcher of a giant
right, but the purpose that serves in episode 1 that we see fulfilled is him rejecting his old ways, and by the end of them coming back around realizing he needs to do something. Even then there was fulfillment upon that single episode's arc. This was, it's not, like I said, this is a 5 enjoyment. I loved everything I watched. I thought it was masterfully done. And frankly, the more we've talked about it, the more I'm more comfortable elevating it even above the last 2 episodes. But I don't think I do think the arc that we were given in this episode is one that will be fulfilled at a later date. But just because it will be fulfilled at a later date doesn't mean I'm satisfied with it now.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it is. I would agree. like this. I don't think it's a 5 on that. Like the arc is not fulfilled. It's not, we did have the the slower bits that I would completely agree with, but I would also say it's definitely above episodes 1 or 2, because I think this episode, whereas episode 2 had a better story because it had that more clear and concise arc, I think this episode had better, at least in my opinion, the cinematography,
pretty much everything,
the shots,
else.
Everything else that goes into the film part, I think was better on this episode.
Fair.
And I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Okay. Like the reason those other episodes are as high as they are the storytelling bits. I remember talking about it. Like, there's nothing to me that's really standing out visually.
Yeah. Like there were some colorful bits in episode 2, but that was really it.
Yeah, but
whereas this episode,
we
had the cool, like the turning camera shot of Anakin in the desert, on the hill. We get the disheveled Obi-Wan as he's getting hunted down by the killer. We get all that stuff that's like the cool cinematic shots.
Cinematography. Nah, but yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm ultimately everything we were talking about, it did so effectively, so freaking well. But as a singular episode of television, there's only one fair way to rate it, and it is as it stands alone.
Yeah.
It wouldn't stand alone. That's kind of how I look at it. And
I'm not gonna convince anyone to change, but I just want it to be known that there is not enough conflict in this podcast, and that I'm gonna fucking say fuck that shit. I thought this was, in my opinion, film category. We got a 4.00 or 4.066 and a 4.25. If this is anything less than a 4.5, I denounce.
Oh, I don't think it is. I think it's a 4.5.
I think it's a 4.5 or above.
I would argue above, but like I was saying, if the minimum is a 4.5, if we're not getting a 4.5 at least, I'm fucking riding. But I'll settle with.
I think we go with 4.5.
It's not worth burning down the Penny Bloom Studios over this, but I
wrong. It's always worth burning them down. I think we go with like a 4.5 or even, a 4.6 if we wanted to, just because I do think like in an episode, like a couple episodes later, we could see the cool cinematic shots that we saw in this episode, along with a better story.
A complete, and like, don't get me wrong, I think the story here was fantastic. It was a setup piece. Like that's absolutely the case. And I have no beef with it.
It was to give us the cummies of seeing Obi-Wan and Anakin face to face again, but then also to set up the further conflict.
Yeah, I loved that reunion, and I thought it was very effective. And visually, it is for me miles better than the first 2 episodes, just because I felt that like there were actually standout moments in this. The first 2 episodes, I felt like there was cool shit, but there wasn't anything that made me go, oh wow, that felt incredibly artful and meaningful just through the visual cue they were providing me. Like I felt that in this episode more. So like I think it does deserve to be propelled above the other 2 at the very least. I just felt like in the first 2 there was that more clear, concise arc for the single episode. They stood alone really well, and this stands alone just fine. I just don't think it stands alone as well.
You just think it could do more.
Yeah, and I have no doubts they'll follow through on it. I just think that the only fair way is to view it in a vacuum.
Any last minute predictions, boys? We got.
Let's look at how we did on the last one.
Reva was turned out by Obi-Wan Kenobi after Order 66.
We still haven't seen.
Could still be seen, but full suit Vader next episode. You guys got that one on lock.
And then the weak fight,
weak fight first, and then the fight on episode 5 or 6, which I think I'm pretty spot on.
Seeming correct.
This one we have like a little Reva redemption in some way. Obi-Wan is great Uncle Ben to Rey, and Mace Windu's popping up in the finale.
The great Uncle Ben one, that is a very that is a lotto ticket for a few weeks. That is a few weeks from now drawing lotto ticket. Like we are investing deep down the road. Like that is the ultimate payout right there. I like
storage unit guy Mephisto question mark.
No, if I had to make any prediction, I don't know. It's hard for me to predict things like this.
Hey, did Kinlan Voss get Grogu out the temple?
What are we placing? Okay, what are we placing? And I'm not even claiming there's any like merit to this at all, or that I'm even putting any stock in this really, but more so just trying to think out loud. I mean, what to you guys, I guess, do you feel like would need to take place for you to feel like there's a chance of seeing Yoda on screen again?
Oh, okay.
Like, and here's where
it would be really interesting.
What I was gonna say was where it could get interesting is if we're working with Obi-Wan so deeply on this, force communication, and force, what do they call it? Shadow force projection, things of that nature. Force Ghost. Yeah. Is there any realm of possibility that Obi-Wan working so hard on that realm of the Jedi, does that possibly lead to it? Like, I guess that's my question. Like, what do you think needs to take place? I'm not predicting it, more so just curious, because like this is the closest in timeline, I guess. I mean, I guess everything's really been in the timeline because he's an old ass motherfucker, but
I think that we could. There's a pretty important scene in Rebels that feels like it could be relevant. Is if Obi-Wan feels the need to cultivate his force abilities again to prep for a fight, to take Leia back, to fight Vader, to face off of Vader. He goes to a place where he might be the most at one with the Force. In Rebels, whenever Kanan, Ezra, and Ahsoka do this, they see Yoda. And it's not a projection of Yoda speaks to them.
Yeah, it's like Force communication, like they talk through the Force. Yeah.
I think that Yoda could lay the groundwork for Obi's first contact with Qui-Gon as well.
I could get behind that. I don't think I would, I don't necessarily think I could get behind that, like him just deciding, all right, well, you know what, I'm going to go to what's the name of the planet?
Dagobah.
I don't think I want him to go to Dagobah, but I could definitely see he has to like become one with the Force again after so long, and he sees Yoda for the first time in 10 years.
However, I would like Dagobah would be cool because it would like provide a nice link, I guess, in between Luke and Obi-Wan's arcs, and they're just at totally different points. Because that would be an interesting contrast. Is like Obi-Wan does it after he's lost his connection with the Force, whereas Luke is like just grooming and trying to grow that. Yeah,
I don't think he knows he's on Dagobah right now. At the beginning of The Empire Strikes Back, he materializes and tells Luke, "Go to the Dagobah system, find Yoda." He knows where he's at some point. I don't know that there's any reason to know that that's right now, but I think that I think that there's a chance he at least communes with Yoda in some capacity.
He knows where Yoda's at right now, doesn't he? Because don't like him and Yoda, whenever they're like, all right, peace out, dude. He's like, all right, I'll go to Tatooine with the boy. They'll take Leia, and doesn't Yoda tell him that he's going to like it.
I think I remember is he tells him he's going into hiding. I don't remember him telling him he's going to Dagobah.
I don't think he says Dagobah, but I think he says like, I'm going to like, like a heart, the heart of the Force or some, some weird thing like that.
Or like maybe he's going back home or something.
He doesn't say home, but it's something to do with like the Force.
It's pissing me off. I feel like I don't know. I gotta pull it up now. Or I'm gonna be pissed, but yeah, I don't know. I think seeing Grogu be saved.
Seeing Grogu be saved would be really cool.
Yeah, it would be right.
The only thing is we have to have an introduction of a new character to really know, like, to flash back to that, because we're not going to get that in a current sense.
So we end this. I want to say we do end this with Obi-Wan out.
That was what I was about to say.
Feels like there's no riper place for us to get flashbacks than.
God, it's almost like you saw the same tweet that I did, Colton. Which makes me think that maybe I saw it because you liked it.
Maybe I did, but that was like it stands to reason. notoriously when we get flashbacks,
it's when someone's like sleeping.
Someone's incapacitated.
Yeah.
Boba Fett, for example. But I don't know, man. I really look forward to whatever the fuck this story has in store for us. I'm absolutely ready. Any last thoughts on this here episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Not really, man. Like I said, just this was the first episode that I felt like they just did some things that really felt like, I guess in terms of tonally or thematically from the prequel trilogy, this has felt the most drastically different. Is that, I don't know if that's right or wrong to say, but I love the marriage of the prequel characters that I know and love so well with all of the technology and an ability to create these stories with the, I guess, sequel / beyond the sequel technology. Just the way that that marriage has been a great one for me as a Star Wars fan who grew up on the prequels.
I think I have a good analogy and a good way to explain where I sit on this episode. I feel like this episode is Mandalorian Season 2 finale. It has the moments of the finale, the epicness, but it doesn't have like the emotional resonance that the finale has that makes it all so worth it. Like, you see Mando fight Moff Gideon, you see like Luke, appear on screen, and now we see Vader appear on screen. Like, we're having these crazy moments, but like there's not the emotional resonance that like that finale had. So like that's the only little difference between like the episodes. Like, this is still a top 3, top 5 episode of Star Wars television, like of all time for sure. Like already, and I think it's going to get topped, like in the coming episodes.
I would not be surprised to have 2 episodes top.
Yeah.
Any of the whatever our top one is now.
Top 3.
I wouldn't be surprised to have 2. Maybe
I'm ready. I'm ready for next week.
All right. And with that, Obi-Wan Kenobi came to a 4.83 out of 5 stars. This part 3 episode did, making it the highest rated episode of the series so far, according to us. I cannot wait for part 4 next week. And I'm very ready. So, with that, we conclude this episode of the Council of Kenobi. The bitches 4 were here. If you would, head to patreon.com/KoroBloom, where you'll find over 24 hours of exclusive content and just a bunch of shit over there. We're out of pocket. We're out of place. It's very, very fun. Strongly recommend. Head to Twitter, follow @PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram @PennyBloomPodcast. Again, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. We were also joined by Miles fucking Buttress.
Hey,
Thank you, homie.
As I always say, happy to be here and happy to come back anytime, man.
Oh, would you come back next week even?
Probably. Yeah, I think I can see that in my future.
Mayhaps indeed.
Perhaps.
And on the screen below me that I can see and you cannot, Kyler Barnett. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great to be back. It's the first back-to-back weeks I've recorded with you guys in a long, long time. I've done one spot.
Dude, I can't express to you enough how happy I am to have you guys back. These conversations, they don't happen when you're not here.
So,
well, yeah, I saw you winding up for that. Absolutely.
But yeah, no.
Absolutely.
You were winding up for it.
I am absolutely happy to be here, and glad to be back.
Absolutely. And with that, the Council of Kenobi is concluded. Leave a 5-star rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And always praise Obi-Wan Kenobi.